The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees says it is seeing record numbers of refugees and forced displacement around the world. The UNHCR has just come out with a new report today, and it says the number of people forced from their homes by war, as we're watching in Ukraine, by violence and human rights abuses, is well over double what it saw 10 years ago. And those numbers are from the end of the year, we should be clear, because I alluded to Ukraine. In fact, this is before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So Hilary Johnstone has been looking through this for us. What stands out in addition to what I've just mentioned there, Hilary?
Well, Heather, what we're hearing from the UN is that this is a trend, a troubling trend that we have seen over the past couple of decades. The number of displaced people around the world continuously going up, but we've now hit a dramatic milestone, something that we've never seen before since records began. More than 100 million people have been displaced around the world. At the end of last year, the end of 2021, it was sitting at about 90 million. And then, of course, at the end of February, so early this year, came the war in Ukraine. Russia's invasion in Ukraine, which has now tipped that number over 100 million. What we are hearing from the United Nations Refugee Agency is that when you think about violence, when you think about war, when you think about food scarcity, the climate crisis, that they are worried that that number is only going to increase in the years to come. Now, one thing we did hear from them, though, in this report is that Canada is a bright spot here, that Canada is a global leader when it comes to resettling refugees, that in 2021, Canada welcomed more than 20,000 refugees, more than double it had the year before, and that it is a global leader when it comes to this. Of course, a lot of people might say that there is still room for improvement when you think about that withdrawal out of Afghanistan, for example, calls for Canada to resettle even more people. That figure, of course, does not include people who might be coming from Ukraine. What we have heard from the United Nations Refugee Agency, though, is that they are hopeful that perhaps we are seeing changes in attitudes when it comes to resettling refugees. And they're bringing up the war in Ukraine, that a lot of European countries, for example, open their doors and welcome refugees in. They're hopeful that maybe that is something that we will see with other conflicts, that countries might be more willing to do that going into the future. Here's a little bit more of what we heard.
A boat of 40 poor souls arrives in Sicily, and then they are bickering on the phone on who takes how many, for how long. And now all of a sudden, how is it possible? In 6 weeks or whatever, 6-7 million people come in, and they're taken in. There's been problems. We know that there's been problems, but by and large, they've been taken in generously. They've been taken in effectively. Temporary protection was a very, very smart move on the part of the European Union, and therefore it's possible.
Oh. So he's making that point there that, you know, in the past we have seen countries perhaps not open their doors in the way the UN would like to see happen, but hoping that maybe we will see a change going forward. But still, Heather, a really troubling number when you think about how many people around the globe are currently displaced. The war in Ukraine pushing that number above that 100 million milestone.
Hilary, thank you so much.